Hello, how are you doing today? Welcome to all of the Living in Your Truth community members. I'm so excited to have you here today. For those of you guys who don't know me or haven't met me yet, my name is Deborah Acker. I'm an intuitive life coach and energy healer. I clear energetic blocks to all kinds of things, including abundance, which we're going to talk a little bit about today. The practical application of that is just really, and I've talked about this before, but I used clearing my abundance blocks to increase the sales without changing anything else in my sales or changes to increase the sales in my job by 20-30% to over $1 million, which was 3 times my goal at the time. So I am so excited to be talking to you guys about this today, because today we are going to talk about really the one thing that if you changed it, it could really significantly impact your abundance, significantly impact your time, and significantly impact your success. So just to kind of talk about what that is, right? So this is Intuit Tuesday. So this is actually something that's intuition related, right? And, you know, I was thinking about this the other day, and this kind of came up for me when I was talking, or when I was watching, I was observing, there was an older woman that was working with this really buff guy in the gym. And what hit me, and that, you know, of course I was just observing it, so I didn't talk to her or anything, but just what hit me, what intuitively came up for me was, I wonder how she made that choice to work with this person. And what came up for me, and just sort of the question that popped in, or in what I felt, just kind of looking and observing the situation, is how many of us make these disconnected choices, right? Or make choices without tuning in to our truth. And tuning into our intuition is all about really tuning in to our truth and what's really true for us, right? And so basically I was just noticing this, and I was like, oh my God, it was just so interesting to me, right? It was just really fascinating and really interesting. And I wanted to talk to you about some ways, first of all, why we make disconnected choices and sort of our old conditioning around that. And then talk to you about really the outcome of changing that, and then how you change that so that you can actually create that and make that happen in your life. So hopefully that sounds good. Um, so cool. All right. So we're going to talk first of all is why. Why do we get so conditioned to making these disconnected choices, right? Why do we so many times sort of move kind of just out of either obligation, move out of unconsciousness? And actually the first one is moving out of that, you know, or moving just out of obligation, right? So we make a choice based on obligation. So instead of tuning in and asking ourselves, okay, what feels good in this moment, or what do I want to choose in this moment? Instead, what we do is we tend to just literally, you know, move out of obligation, like I have to do this, or I'm supposed to be there, or I should be there, right? So it could be everything from going to like a business meeting or going to like a networking meeting to, you know, something that we do with our families. And so it's really, really, really important to notice, okay, why am I making this choice? Why am I choosing this? And sometimes, you know, we might choose something because we do want to do something for our family, or we do want to go to a networking thing, even though we kind of feel obligated to. But it's just important to start to tune in and realize, when am I moving from obligation, right? Like, how am I doing this? When is this showing up in my life? And tuning in, it's like, is this something that I want to change in my life? Because let me tell you, obligation is a super heavy energy. And so really, really, when you start to notice like that you're moving from obligation, it's something, you know, it's really, really important to start to notice that, so that if you are doing something and you're feeling like more of like that have to, can you change it? Can you start to shift it and actually say, I'm choosing this, right? So you move from this, I have to do this, which is more of a victim energy, to moving to, I'm choosing this, which is empowering, which is really stepping into your power, which is owning your choices. And that's a much higher energy to move from. So that's kind of the first reason why we might make disconnected choices, right? Or why we you know, choose to do things maybe that don't always feel super aligned. So another thing is, and we kind of just touched on this in the first one, but really like checking in with yourself and saying, okay, like, like taking some deep breaths, right? So many times when we go to make a choice, we don't really breathe, right? And we just answer automatically. So we're like, yeah, I'll go to that, or no, I won't go. And instead of actually just taking some deep breaths and tuning into what you really, really want. And I walked you through this exercise in terms of just getting connected to yourself. And this also works to getting connected to your choices, right? And you just place your hand on your heart, and you just take some nice deep breaths, just breathing in, you know, into your heart space, into your hand that's on your heart. And just you take some nice deep breath and you just go, and you just breathe and then exhale out. And you can do that a few times. So just breathing and then just exhaling out. And then just checking in and saying, is this something I want to do? And really taking that minute to pause. And also, like, you know, we can get so conditioned, like, say if someone asked you to do something and they're standing right in front of you, we feel that obligation to answer immediately, right? To go in and answer, like, right away. Instead of actually, you know, maybe taking a day, maybe taking 2 days, maybe taking a week to think about, is this what I really want to do? So obviously we don't always have that as an option, but when you have that as an option, especially if it's not something that's coming up as a hell yes automatically, tuning in and saying, okay, is this something that I really want to do? And taking, whether it's that minute, that 5 minutes, the 10 minutes, or a day or 2 days, and really tuning in and just checking out, okay, is this something I really, really want to do? So that's reason number 2. Another reason why we make disconnected choices is that many times we're playing from a scarcity model. Many times we're playing from a box, and we forget to look at the idea of, if I was in infinite possibilities, if I had, you know, if I could have anything in this situation, what would that be? Would that be the thing that I'm being offered, or would that be something else? And I'll give you an example of that. For me, I was looking at doing a networking group, and I live in Chicago, and I was looking at doing a networking group in Chicago. And there was 2 groups. One group met in one area of Chicago, and another group meets in another area of Chicago. And initially, like, I was invited to the first group. I'll call it Group A and Group B. So I was invited to Group A, and Group A energetically didn't feel as aligned for me. And I was going into this pattern, right? So I was kind of just like, okay, well, I'm just going to sign up. It does feel good. I feel like it's like it would be beneficial for me to join, and so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Well, coincidentally, or not so coincidentally, as we're always being guided in this life, the following meeting, I was invited to kind of a joint meeting for both groups. And so I was able to see and meet the other group. And in doing that, I was able to see like with my own eyes, oh, wait, that group might actually be more aligned for me. So let me go ahead and check out that other group. And energetically, just looking at that group and participating, now having participated in a meeting of theirs, I can see that they are more energetically aligned. So, like, basically just tuning in and saying, okay, like, I live in a world of infinite possibilities. So if I could have this any which way that I want, what would that look like? What would that look like for me? And is this what I would choose, or would I choose something else? And starting to put that out there to the universe, put that out there to the world. So the impact of just starting to tune into ourselves and starting to really connect to our true choices and connect to what we really want and what's really true for us, can be obviously saving ourselves time, because you think of how many times maybe you've done something and you're like, it felt heavy or didn't feel good, and you did it anyways, and then nothing really came of it because you weren't fully aligned with it. So saving time. And then, of course, with that, because, hi, Suzanne, thanks so much for joining. We're just talking about making disconnected choices. And so I'm just talking about some of the, like, I just covered the why we want to start to tune into ourselves and make connected choices. And now we are talking about, oh, hi, Sarah Lynn. Thanks so much for joining too. So we were just talking about making disconnected choices and why it would be important for us to stop doing that, to start to really tune into ourselves. And now I'm talking about really, okay, good morning. And now I'm talking about the like basically the outcomes of actually starting to tune into ourselves. And the first one was really saving ourselves time, right? So if we start to tune in and tune into what's really right for us and stop moving from obligation, we stop moving, like not breathing and checking in, is this something I really want to do? And if we stop moving from scarcity and we move into infinite possibilities, that can mean us saving time, because if you check in with yourself, you might have some good information on if you're aligned or if you're not aligned. So that's one thing that's really, really super awesome. And then of course too, it's like decreased time and effort, right? So we talked about time, but the other piece of that is effort, right? Because think about how many times when you haven't checked in with yourself and then you're doing something and it's taking a lot of effort, right? It feels really heavy in your body. It's like, oh, can any of you guys relate to that? If you guys have an example too, feel free to share that in the comments or just say hello. Another piece of that too is lower success, right? So, if you go to, one example I was using is going to a networking event, right? And so we go to a networking event and we think, oh, I just should be here, right? So that's the moving out of obligation. And then we're there and it feels heavy, or we don't end up making any connections. This really hasn't been a really great use of our time. On the other side of it, it's like if you're like looking at a networking event and that feels good and you feel aligned with it and it feels that yummy, open, juicy energy, which just feels light in your body, you feel excited, like it's like, basically somebody would have to hold you down for you not to go. And this can apply obviously to anything in our life, right? And so looking at that and going, oh, that feels really, really good. And then seeing what comes of that, right? Because a lot of times what comes of that is something really, really fun, right? It's something that's like, okay, whether it's a new client or a new partner or, great friendships, whatever that is, there's a reason why you're feeling that juicy, yummy, fun energy. And then of course with that, increased abundance, right? So increased making more money, just increased time, because you're following your guidance and you're when you guys say yes, when any of us say yes to the things that we really want, we encourage the universe to bring us more of what we really want. Just like when we say no to things we don't want, then that's a way for us to also get aligned, right? So to tell the universe, don't bring me XYZ relationships, don't bring me XYZ partnerships, don't bring me, XYZ job opportunities, whatever that looks like in your life, right? So let's talk about 3 ways that we can stop making disconnected choices and that we could really tune into ourselves, tune into our intuition, because our intuition is our truth. And it's really our inner connection to ourselves and our connection to our truth. And so one of the first ways is breathing, right? So I mentioned this in the why, but really starting to tune in and breathe, right? So I was talking about this exercise of just placing your hand on your heart and breathing into your heart space, which is a great way to get connected to yourself, but then it's also a great way to get connected to your choice and your truth and say, why am I choosing this, right? So it's like tuning in and asking yourself, why am I choosing this in this moment? So that's an awesome, awesome way. And then doing a check-in. Is this something, I want to look at that. So is this something that I really want to do? Or is this like, am I just doing, why am I choosing this, right? Why am I doing this? Why am I choosing this? So yes, just went to some kind of meeting, maybe gynecology, this past week with a friend. We both felt we needed to go and be there and both left with connections to further our research that we were stuck with. Exactly. It's that tuning in to ourselves, because our inner guidance system is trying to guide us towards the choices that are for our highest good, right? The choices that are in the most alignment. And if we actually tune into that, we could save ourselves genealogy, no worries. We could actually save ourselves so much time, right? We can actually save ourselves like so much time and so much effort by just literally taking that time to place our hand on our heart, ask ourselves if this is something we want to do, check in, why am I doing this? Why am I being part of this or not? And then it's like, okay, if I was in infinite, hi Tony, if I was in infinite possibilities, what would I choose, right? So that's another really great question. So it's just really, really looking at, if I lived in infinite possibilities, what would I choose? Would I choose this? And then if not, what would I choose, right? So it's really, really important. So Tony, we're just talking about making disconnected choices, and how do we start to really follow that juiciness, follow that yumminess, and to really follow our guidance, our inner guidance system, to follow what is really going to create the most joy in our life? Because that's another really great question to ask, right? Is like, does this bring me joy? Because so many times we are just so conditioned to moving from that obligation, from moving just from those spaces of like, I have to do this, or this is like something I'm supposed to do, or this is like logically, like how many times do we look at something logical and go, logically, this is a good idea. And yet our whole body, and a body check-in is such a great way to really figure out, am I aligned with this? Because our whole body is like cringing when we're going, okay, this feels logical, but like, I don't want to have to go. Like, this doesn't feel good at all. And so, thank you. And so really, really, thanks, Sarah Lynn. Thank you. I love you too. Just really, really being aware and just really noticing, okay, it's like we can start to make connected choices. We can start to tune into our intuition, because this is Intuit Tuesdays in the Living in Your Truth community, but we can start to tune into our intuition and tune into what our truth is, and ask ourselves some really good questions to figure out if we are aligned, figure out if we're not aligned, and figure out if we're not aligned, what we are aligned with, right? And start to put that out into the world, put that out into the universe to really, really create that. So, yeah, thanks so much for watching. Do you guys have any questions before we close out for today's Intuit Tuesday? Feel free to paste questions, just say hello. Any sort of awarenesses that came up for you as I was talking, or any things that that you've been stuck with, or things that have worked for you around basically making disconnected choices and starting to tune in and make more connected choices. So I'll give you a second, and then if not, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you guys have any questions or anything, don't hesitate to email me at deb@deboraacker.com. And I also do a complimentary pattern identifying discovery call if you want to explore this work further. So thanks so much for joining. Have a great day.